I think Sergeant Peel already covered some of the areas we just simply can't talk about, but I want to try to go and run through a little bit of preliminary briefings we've had from the investigation, as well as the latest update we had on our officers. This morning, shortly after 6:30 a.m., we received a business holdup alarm, like a robbery alarm, and one of our officers was seconds away from that location. As the officer makes the scene, he is being pointed across the street to what he feels is a suspect wearing a black hoodie. Our officer is in the vehicle following what is a potential suspect for an armed robbery call, he notices that there is either money falling out of the suspect's pocket or the suspect is throwing money out of his pocket. A very, very short chase with the suspect running, and then our officer driving to a nearby house. Our officer sees that the suspect is now running towards the back of a house. The officer parks his vehicle and he is about to run towards the back of the house when he hears some kind of a banging noise or a loud noise, simulating like either the suspect is kicking something or possibly forcing entry into this house. The officer then goes to the front of the yard where he is now confronted by the suspect from the armed robbery. The suspect withdraws a handgun and shoots at our police officer, strikes him in the leg, and the officer returns fire. We do not know how many shots were exchanged between the two. That will come out later in the investigation, but the officer maintains his cover on the suspect until responding officers can get the suspect safe, get the gun away from him, and then get him in custody. At the same time, our officer makes his way back to his vehicle nearby and takes out his personal trauma kit. He has recently been trained by our department in not just the application of this kit, but also how to take care of a serious injury like this. The officer takes out scissors, he cuts his own uniform pants, applies a tourniquet on, and then applies direct compression to control and basically stop this bleeding. The suspect is now secure. The scene is fairly secure from the stress and the volatility of the exchange of gunfire, and our other officers are now assisting him with what he feels is a pretty serious leg injury. He is then transported, and thankfully the excellent staff at JPS give us phenomenal service here. We are in hopes and anticipation that he could possibly be released later today, and his condition he is in good condition. But I wanted to say a little bit about the manner in which our officer responded. Officer has approximately 8 years on the department, married with a family, and suffering that type of an injury is not a shock to this officer. He is a military veteran. He served 5.5 years in Army infantry, and his mindset and the ability on how calm he remained within a firefight, and then immediately to address his injury, to stabilize himself. I really attribute that for the military training as well as his mindset and the training he receives from our department. What was really caring about this scene was all the responding officers that knew him. Some of them didn't even go to the scene. They wanted to take care of his family. He got his kids to school, they brought his wife here, and that's just the kind of family that we are, and that's the kind of professionals we have serving on our streets, and we're very, very lucky today. But unfortunately, this was a very violent scene, and the investigation will continue, and I know that we'll give you an update later on this afternoon. Can I answer a question for you?
So you think he saved his own life?
Very possibly. We don't know the extent of the gunshot wound. I think they're looking at the caliber and the casing and the other evidence, but you got to remember the fragmentation and the other injuries that can result from a serious gunshot wound to your leg. I think the application of that personal trauma kit, without a doubt, basically stabilized him immediately, and he didn't have to wait for the long transport, and who knows what could happen from there.
Those are fairly new kits.
Yes, sir, they are. We researched this training over a year ago, and we currently have so many military veterans that were combat medics within the military. What we learned nationally, especially after Aurora, the shooting in the theater, was we have to take a very progressive approach to this. And it's not right for the service that we deliver to just stand and request services when we have training and tools that, even though the scene is very dangerous and extremely volatile for all of us, our employees can take care of serious wounds and injuries. And that's why I totally support this training, and I'm just glad we have those leaders that had the vision to get this kind of training instituted on our department.
Did you ever think that someone would use that training to help save their own life?
That was the goal of the training, was we wanted them to remember in the training the mindset application that they need to not simply look at other trauma injuries on a mass casualty situation like Aurora, but also to really assess themselves. And that actually takes their breathing and their mindset and calms them down. But really here, I got to visit with the officer and military training and the way that he had such a mature mindset about the course of events that occurred within seconds. He is a very, very mature and a very professional responder.
Chief,
But we expected them to apply this to themselves as a priority, because many times they will be on a traffic stop or sometimes laying in a street with a serious injury, and we simply wanted more than just a request over radio for help.
Is there anything else that you can tell us about the robbery? Is everybody there okay?
Yeah, everybody there is okay. We have a lot of evidence to go through. That's why I just ask for a little bit of patience. I'll wait for the bus.
Tend to himself, or was he injured?
I'll get to that in just a second. Oh yeah, but everyone at the scene is okay, and I think we had great witnesses there to assist our investigators. But that'll be a very lengthy investigation, interviews of that. As far as the injuries, what we are understanding from the first walkthrough by our investigative staff was that he was shot first, and then he returned fire, and then when he saw that his partners had the suspect safe and actually under control, then he wanted to tend to his injury. All right, thank y'all so much. We appreciate you being patient, and we'll get an update later. Yes, sir.
Just walked up, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me 3 minutes?
Yeah, I can.
Was this a patrol officer? Or was
Yes,
he...
it is.
Okay.
Yes. Morning shift?
Yes.
Yeah, just started his shift. Hey, what? They purge packets, so if we have like an open stab wound, and keeping in mind that less than a month ago we had one of our sergeants come upon a victim with a 10-inch laceration across his midsection with his intestines protruding. The sergeant just went through this training 2 days prior to this injury, so he took those sucking chest wound packets and applied a combination of them across his intestinal area and saved his life from that, and will be receiving the Medal of Life Saving from us. So everything that you would have in a very condensed, but it's also capable of attaching to their belt. So if they go to a scene with multiple shooting victims and it's still the type of scene where it's unsafe for anyone else to be there, we have staff ready to take care of someone that may need, we know it's going to need major treatment later on, but for that first 1 to 4 minutes until we can get the right team in there, such as an EMT or a trained paramedic, it's just something additional that we can have within the organization.
A couple of quick questions. How many of your officers now have these and have been trained on them? Do you know?
Hold on a second. Hey, does Brandy, you know about estimates?
Switch spots,
yeah. We'll get it for you.
Okay, and when did the Fort Worth PD start issuing these kits?
This is within the last year. Once we saw the Aurora shooting, and we already started research on a lot of these kits because we had so many combat medics being within our organization. One of them promoted to the rank of sergeant, and I assigned him to the training academy to research this as well as another project we're implementing in patrol. And then after Aurora, we really fast-tracked this. We used some awarded asset money because we didn't have enough within our general budget funds to request immediately. So awarded asset money, we bought hundreds of these kits, and as they come through the class, they receive their kit the day of the training, and literally with the case of Sergeant Byrne, 2 nights later, he saved someone's life.
So it's forfeit your money.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. Yeah.
Excellent.
Can you explain?
Can we get a? Do you mind if we get a shot of that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Is it based on the combat medic kits? Or?
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, okay, so there are various levels within the military training. So this would be your smallest emergency trauma kit that you can carry with you. There are larger ones, such as like a military backpack, where basically this kit is air sealed, and from the bottom of this backpack you're throwing kits out to staff that are working on victims. But we don't have anyone trained to that level. This is merely a personal trauma kit. We want all of our officers to have, because we know that their job is becoming increasingly more dangerous. In fact, in 2012, we saw a dramatic increase in the amount of assaults on officers, violent assaults on officers across the nation. And we've had 700 of our police officers trained and now are carrying these types of kits.
What's in it?
In here are a lot of emergency medical supplies that they need for their own sustainment and securing of the wounds. So you have different, what they call a sucking chest wound packet. So an adhesive packet, if you are shot or stabbed, it can actually make an airtight seal. There is a blood coagulant that will stop massive bleeding very, very quickly so that you can be transported safely and not go into shock. And then other medical packages and medical care packages to help stabilize that wound until professionals can be with you.
What a great pack.